Oh, hey there. How you doing? Oh, me? I'm doing alright. Kickmaster for the NES was released in 1992, published by Taito and developed by Kid. Kid had developed and published a decent chunk of games for the NES and SNES, mostly in Japan. Kickmaster is an action game and has a very arcade-style feel to it in terms of its difficulty and in its gameplay in general. It feels like something that was ported and probably could have been a pretty good quarter sucker if we had ever seen it in the arcade. From my understanding, Taxon was to publish this game. Taxon published 12 NES games, only a few I recognize. Those being G.I. Joe, Mappyland, and 8 Eyes. With Taxon having money problems, they were not going to be able to publish this, so the renowned Taito stepped in to make it happen. Who better, I guess? As I said, it has a very arcade-style feel to it, and who knows arcade games better than Taito? Those bastards made Space Invaders. This game was only released in North America, however you could find it in the early 90s on some Famicom pirate cards that were circulating around in other regions. Well, now you know a little bit of the backstory of the game. Let's take a look at it, starting with its story.
The once peaceful kingdom of Lowrel has been attacked and burned by the evil wizard Belzed's monstrous forces. The king and queen are killed, and their only child, the Princess Silphee, is kidnapped. All the king's guards are defeated in battle, except for the powerful knight Macren. Macren and his younger brother, Thonolan, an inspiring martial artist, take off on a long journey to rescue Princess Silphee and defeat the wicked Belzed. They start their long struggle in the witch's forest outside the kingdom of Lowrel.
At times I really liked Kickmaster, and then there were times I was pulling my hair out cussing to the heavens. This game pulls some cheap shit now and again, and it really feels bad, man. Almost as bad as watching your brother, who is armed in full steel and carrying a sword, die to a single skeleton. As he dies, he says, "My blade is no match for your kicking skills, go save the princess." Well, alright, this protagonist is gonna have to be an everyday Walker Texas Ranger or some shit. The skeleton seems strong. And spoiler alert, you'll be fighting quite a few of them. You'll be controlling Thonolan, who is the youngest man ever to earn the title Kickmaster. You're gonna venture through 8 levels fighting 100 or more enemies with only your feet. Well, almost. Your character can't punch or headbutt any jabronis, but he does possess the power to use magic. You can collect magic upgrades throughout the levels, some hidden away and some by defeating bosses. You can acquire 12 different magic abilities, all serving different functions. When you collect the magic, it will tell you what it does, but from the menu screen it won't give you a description, so you'll have to remember the magic by the icon or have the instruction booklet handy, which is a great instruction booklet by the way. It had tips, pictures, and maps, and details on everything. The magic spells are very strong and definitely will aid you in your journey. The problem is there isn't much magic to be had, and you shouldn't go spending it all willy-nilly like I did. Your magic is listed as a number on the bottom of the screen, and each spell has a different cast amount. You increase your maximum magic by leveling up, and to refill it you need to collect items that drop off enemies. So the game sprinkles in a little RPG element within its action. Not only do you gain more magic points by leveling up, but you unlock different kicks with a total of 10 different kicks total. Some kicks just upgrade previous ones, others will unlock a whole new move, like a sliding kick or a mid-air flying drop kick. To use your different kicks you'll be using classic fighting game style controls. For instance, over, down, and B, you'll perform a slide kick, or up, over, and B, you perform a high kick into a mid kick. Definitely pretty cool, and it was fun busting some of these moves off on the hordes of assholes always in my face. To level and to unlock more kicks and more magic power, you'll need to collect items that fall off enemies. Now in this game, they just don't drop and sit on the ground like in a Mega Man. The items fly off the enemies in sets of 3. You have to capture them mid-air above the ground. Once the items reach below you, they disappear, so it's important to get good at collecting the drops from the enemies. If you're good, you're able to collect 2 of the 3 drops, but be wary, sometimes the game is an asshole and one of the items that drops is a skull that depletes your precious life. There are 9 different drops that enemies give. A heart to refill life, 3 different versions of coins that grant experience, a jewel that increases your score, a 1-up, 2 different versions of magic refills, and the aforementioned greasy poison that will lower your life. These drops are important and you should always try to collect them. It takes an abundant amount of magic to refill your life bar, and using the magic for healing never feels good as the spells do tons of damage. Always try to get your hands on some magic or a heart if you see it drop. But it's also important to keep trying to level up. It's definitely a unique kind of drop system. Adds yet more of a challenge to this already challenging game. Oftentimes, there are other enemies and more spawning around you, so going out of your way in the name of greed to get these drops sometimes isn't worth it, and it's very painful to see them fly out of your reach. Now this game is littered with bosses and mini-bosses, some very cool fights and uniquely styled characters. That's one thing I should mention. This game has tons of different enemy sprites, some enemies function relatively the same and just look different, but there are loads of them to keep things fresh. On that topic, the graphics of this game are pretty good. It's not a bubbly and colorful game, it's very gritty, and they have more of a detailed, realistic style to them. Well, as detailed and realistic as you can imagine, it's 8-bit, you know? The music in this game is pretty good, I liked it. One stage in particular, Sector 6, Across the Swamps. Listen to this, gets you pumped up. Overall, this game isn't half bad. It's a unique game that always kept me on my toes. It's not easy. It's one of the hardest games I played on the NES, probably because I executed it all wrong. I got desperate and blew my magic every chance I could. I sometimes rushed through it when the game was demanding my patience, and I definitely was sloppy in my execution of kicks early on. What I didn't like is my character felt so slow at times when everything was moving fast. Some patterns of bosses felt too sporadic. There was classic NES knockback in all the wrong places, over-the-top mechanics added into already challenging areas, and some very unreasonable checkpoints. I got to the final boss, but I didn't beat the game. I needed magic for him, and I simply didn't save enough. This is a game that you can appreciate but yet feel some disdain for. It's a game that you will sit down and play a couple times before you get good at it. Watching others play it, there's definitely some tricks that can make things easier. Now, I'm not in love with this game, but I will recommend it. It's worth a try, and I found it a pretty unique experience. This is Late Night Retro. Thank you for watching. Until next time.